Hello, my name is Santiago Elizondo, and this is the video for our Clothes in Our Closet assignment. So, the piece of clothing that I chose out of my closet is this t-shirt. It's got a walrus in the back. He's fishing on a tube, and on the front, it's got just a fishing hook where the fishing line comes out of, and it says Nike SB. So, Nike SB is a apparel line under Nike. Nike is the overall company for this brand right here. Nike SB, all it stands for is Nike Skateboarding. It's just a short acronym for it. So a little info on Nike. Nike is today's world's largest supplier of athletic apparel and equipment and shoes. I'm sure everybody's heard of Nike. It's a pretty huge company. So just to go into further detail about Nike, Nike is a multi-billion company. So in 2012, they had revenue accessing over 24 billion, and then in 2017, it was recorded that they had revenue of 29.6 billion. So a little $5 billion jump within those 5 years is pretty good. In 2012, they were recorded to have more than 44,000 people working for them worldwide, or of employers. And then in 2017, it was just a little bit over 74,000. 74,000. Nike's first actual name was Blue Ribbon Sports. So a little fact about that: Blue Ribbon is all it meant was like a first place ribbon you would get if you were to participate in the track or field event. And that's because Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight, the two original people for Nike. Bill Bowerman was a track coach at Oregon, which he also graduated from, and Phil Knight was one of his student athletes that attended Oregon. And so their whole idea was to make a product that would serve the athlete better versus compared to what they were using already. And so they took off from there. Back in, was it 1964? That's when the company first originated. And then Nike is actually the name of the Greek goddess of victory. So that's where Nike comes from. My actual garment, it says it is made in Egypt. I believe it. Yeah. So mine is actually made in Egypt. That's where my garment is from. Nike actually has contracts with more than like 700 shops in 45 countries outside of the U.S. And including the USO, about 46. Most of their factories are located in Asia, Indonesia, China, Taiwan, India, Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan, Philippines, and Malaysia. So like I said, they have contracts with over 45 countries outside of the U.S. worldwide, so that's pretty huge. And then Nike likes to disclose a lot of information about their shops where these materials are actually made, or these products are actually made. They kind of got a bad rap for all these shops outside of the U.S. They're known as Nike sweatshops. Because of the poor conditions that are there. Let's see. It says Nike has been criticized for contracting with factories in countries such as China, Vietnam, Mexico, and Indonesia. The Vietnam Labor Watch, an activist group, has documented that factories contracted by Nike have violated minimum wage and overtime laws in Vietnam. So that's just that activist group that's brought this problem up. But I was reading into it, and they go into detail about how there was like 60+ hour work weeks for the employers there. And they weren't compensated for that time. That was like a norm for them. They worked 60 hours a week regardless. And where was that? Yes. So, and then they were like getting in trouble for taking breaks or water breaks. You know, they were receiving verbal abuse and physical abuse. If they wanted to step off to use the restroom or even just get a drink of water, like, you know, that was forbidden. And that just goes to show how strict and how horrible the working conditions were for that place. Let's see. It says, according to that report, Nike audited 569 of their factories in 2003 and 2004 and found abuses it had previously identified. So there was more cases of abusive treatment, and that's more than half of the shops that they are known to have contracts with. What materials are included in this item, and how do those materials get to the factory? So in my garment or my product that I have, it's 60% cotton and 40% polyester. Those are the only two raw materials that are in my actual garment. So let's see. The cool thing about the polyester is that they're wanting to go more like go green for these the raw materials that they do use. 19% of the polyester Nike uses is recycled, so that's a good chunk of their actual materials that they're using is being recycled and, you know, helping the environment. A cool little fun fact that I also found was in 2010 during the World Cup, all the jerseys that were used were 100% completely recycled water bottles. I think they said they use about 12 water bottles per jersey, and that's just pretty cool, you know, to be on that big of a stage and then just showing like how we can help the environment. That's a positive side of Nike. And then also going into the cotton. So it's the same thing as a polyester. You know, they're wanting to go green. They try to use what they call organic cotton. And so organic cotton, all it really means is that it's harvested without chemical pesticides and no fertilizer, you know, those type of things. Nike gets most of its cotton from its suppliers in China, India, Turkey, and the United States of America. And then Nike plans to have at least, or they did plan to have at least 10% of all the cotton that they did use, at least 10% of it being organic cotton. So like I said, it's another good thing for the environment. It's a cool thing that Nike's doing, trying to help out with the world. And then Nike also uses over 1,500 different vendors or material vendors and suppliers and companies to get these raw materials. So what are the conditions of growing these raw material? It's the same thing as pretty much like these factories. You know, they have a bad rap for where they get them from because we're getting them from outside of the U.S. where there aren't labor laws. You know, there aren't any rules placed. You know, it's the cheapest labor, whatever they can find. So the conditions are poor, but Nike doesn't actually own any of these factories. They just contract them and have them do the work for them, pretty much. And then so it says most of the Nike's raw materials are sourced in the manufacturing host by countries or by independent contractors. And the very last question was, how does your item represent globalization? So in my opinion, I feel like, so my actual product was made in Egypt, and I purchased the product over here in Pasadena, Texas. That's where I purchased the t-shirt at a little while ago. But for it to be made in Egypt and then shipped across the world to the US, and then me as a consumer, I was able to purchase it in Pasadena, Texas. The amount of people that all work together in a sense without even knowing, just for the consumer, for me to buy it, from it being maybe all the raw materials were harvested in China, and then China shipped those raw materials to Egypt, where it was made in a workshop over there in Egypt, and then from Egypt it was shipped out to the United States at some point, and then once it's gotten to the United States, it was also shipped over into Texas and put in Pasadena for me to buy. All those people that it connects and brings together without even knowing is globalization. It wasn't that easy, 400 years ago to get a t-shirt from Egypt as easy as I did. All I did was drive down the road, a little 20-minute drive, and I was able to purchase that. Back then, you couldn't do that. That's crazy talk to think that you can get a t-shirt from Egypt that easily. And that just goes to show of the globalization and the progress that we've made in our world today, and just how we're able to connect, through these ways in today's world. So that's how I think that my item represents globalization. So that about wraps it up for my video. I did go over my time a little bit, and I do apologize, but I would like to say thank you for your time, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you.